Can you imagine your food being higher? Can you imagine not having access to the goods that you're needing? Can you imagine not only living paycheck to paycheck, but living on your credit cards, living on debt? Well, that's exactly what we're going to see in the next coming weeks and months ahead if we don't change course. Now, a lot of times people say, oh, you're crazy. You're not going to see shortages. Everything looks great around us. There's no lockdowns. We hear all that. But the truth be told, if you really start digging in, you're going to see reasons that's going to cause you to go through maybe some tougher times in the next coming weeks. End of the quarter tends to be the busiest quarter for most Americans, either with holidays, traveling, schools back in, normal everyday life happens. However, what we're going to see is a more expensive fourth quarter. When you thought it was already bad, it's going to get even worse. Let's jump into three major items that is plaguing our society. And yes, there's plenty more that we can talk about, and we're going to be doing more videos like this. But there's three things we need to talk about that is causing you to have higher prices. And it will continue, all because we are not controlling a lot of this stuff. Let's jump into it today. This video is going to be good and it starts right.
Lighting up the way, I can see the road ahead of me. I won't be stumbling in the dark. Your eyes are shining like the stars.
Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so much for being here today. Today's video is going to be about how we say it may get bad to worse. Now, the whole point of our videos is not to scare you. The whole point is to bring reality to what we're going through. It's not fear, it's what we're seeing now. This is not me making up something and giving you just my opinion. These are stories that are going alongside what we're living through today. So when we say things like it's going to get worse or there's going to be shortages, it's because the stories are there. I think a lot of times we try to mask them and act like it's not going to happen to us here in America, but it is. So let's jump into these three things that are causing major issues for our society and will continue to get worse, especially in the fourth quarter. Guys, if you're new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but let us know what you think about this content. Again, our goal is to build a wise thought pattern to the news that we hear, and hopefully it helps us live more sustainable as we try to prep and live our everyday lives with our family. Let's jump into it. Number one, if I have not heard it, I've had comments on it, and here it is. I've done tons of videos on diesel shortages and gas shortages and how it's going to spike in price and you better be ready for those kind of times to come. Well, I get these comments, oh, how's that diesel shortage going? Oh, how's that gas going? We got plenty here. Think about it. What did I say? I said, if it's not going to be in shortage, it's going to cost more. Today, it came out in several news articles that oil soars to new 2023 highs, the highest in 10 months for all petroleum-based products, because of the Saudi-Russia deal about extending the cuts that they already had in place and not adding to production. As I said before, you may not see the shortage where you're at. You may see shortage. If you don't see that, you're going to see a supply and demand issue, which is going to cause the fuel to cost more. If it's less supply, that means it's more in demand, and that means it will cost more. If it's abundant in supply and less in demand, that means it goes down. So that's where you get to the supply and demand. That's when I say, look, shortages cause spike in prices. You can maybe still have plenty of fuel. It's not about the fact that the diesel shortages cause you where you can't get fuel. It causes it to go up in price. A lot of these articles on major news sites that it will go up even more in the last quarter. Now, what do we do in the last quarter? We travel. No matter if you believe that it's speculative, no matter if you think it's our fault that we're doing it, no matter if you think it's the Saudis or Russians, bottom line is you will feel it in your pocket. Not the administration who's not wanting to produce, but I go back and say this. If we were producing a lot of our own fuel, we wouldn't be so impacted by the Saudis and Russia. Again, we've got to get away from this global agenda. But because of that shortage, because of that spike in pricing, not only are you going to see your fuel go up, you will see all your goods go up. Why? Because everything gets to you that way. So we go back to the same beating the dead horse analogy. You have to see that there's going to be more cost to you as the consumer. Does it make it right? Doesn't mean you support this administration, but because of these policies, we're going to see higher prices. We have a video coming out probably tomorrow or the next day about the things we bought for the week. You know, we always go through that. And I've got a good one dealing with petroleum and gas. So make sure you check that out. But number one, the thing that's plaguing our society that's going to cost you more is petroleum-based products, which is just about any and everything that you partake in or any goods that you're getting needs it to get to you. So it will cost more. So start buying your stuff now. If you're planning for Christmas or you're planning for your holidays, start looking at ways that you could maybe save by doing things yourself, maybe building some projects, building your skills, and being able to build something for someone. If you can't do that, learn to stay home more. Don't just have to go and ride the roads if you don't have to. Also remember, try to put a little of it up in little cans, if it's 5-gallon cans, 10-gallon cans, or if you're putting 55-gallon drums of fuel up. Just make sure you're being safe with that. But all the petroleum-based products, gas, oil, diesel, everything, will be more expensive as you go into the quarter. So try to stock up on some things, and the things that you think you're going to need to buy. Going to groceries every day, instead of doing that, maybe look at going once a week, once a month, building a bigger grocery list, and that will help you try to subside some of those prices that will be going up in the coming weeks. Number two, there was an article that came out today from Zero Hedge that said unprecedented levels of theft and thievery is causing retail businesses to make prices skyrocket, also making some of the goods that they tend to have on shelf, the ones that are name brand especially, they're starting to remove off shelves because of the problems of theft. So what they're saying is your prices will be inflated and your prices will cost more, and you will not see the things that you want on the shelf as much because of all the theft that is happening. You're not stealing the goods, but when you see people not getting prosecuted for stealing and theft and thievery, especially as we get close to holidays and Christmas time, all that, guess what happens? You incur the price. You incur the expense, because it's just like a graduated recovery. If you heard that in economics, is if all of a sudden you start taking loss as a business, what happens to build that back up and to try to make the same amount of money as you made last year? A lot of retailers will put it on the rest of the goods, or they will go up in price, or they will find a new way to make that money back up. Well, if your goods are costing more because the ones who are stealing and the ones who are thieving all these stores, that means you are actually paying for all the goods that got stolen. That's not a good thing. That's going to make your goods go up, especially as we get into the retail sector. The strongest part of retail is Christmas time. So even though budgets are tight, people still buy Christmas. Even if they buy Christmas on debt, which is a bad thing, they still buy Christmas. So all those people, when you watch them on TV and they're stealing all these goods from these stores, just remember, you're having to pay for it. Third major issue that's causing the prices to skyrocket, not only for the last quarter, but really probably for the ongoing future, is something that a lot of people don't think about. It is major strikes with business. And all these unions are striking for better pay, less work for better pay. Now, if you're a union person, don't take offense to what I'm fixing to say. But when we see UPS getting $40 and $50 an hour to deliver our goods, strike this imminent with the freight, with the United Auto Workers. Remember, all those things are how we get our goods. Again, we go back to the fuel issue. If we see UPS now, they're getting astronomical amounts in their salary. UPS is not going to just say, okay, we'll just pay it, and Amazon Prime is still going to be free delivery, and you as the consumer are not going to pay any more to your stuff to be delivered. Do you actually believe that's going to happen? Nothing against union workers, nothing against UPS, but if we look at the auto workers, they're wanting more money for less hours worked. That's not a good thing. It's good for us to work. And if we're saying, okay, well, if I'm pushing this button or if I'm doing this job, I want more money for the less work I'm doing. Sometimes unions are not looking out best for their people, and they're not looking out best for the economy, because it's going to cause more problems. Again, as we talked about with the theft a while ago, if we see more unions going and they're trying to negotiate all these prices, it always comes back on the consumer, because we're the ones needing their services. If all these subway and train stations and all these people who are part of that union strike, what's that going to do? That's going to mess up transit. That's going to mess up the fact of what you're paying, maybe public transit, and it costs you it's pretty economical. What if it goes up? Are you going to be able to afford it? All of a sudden, United Auto Workers, have you seen the price of cars lately? It's astronomical. It's like you're buying another house. And so if we're seeing more strikes and more negotiations to get more money for less work when we couldn't even hardly get a vehicle the last 2 to 3 years and the price was inflated 15–20%. What is that going to do for your bottom line when you have to buy the fuel that costs more, the goods that cost more, and now you're having to buy a vehicle that costs a lot more? I'm just being honest, unions are not a good thing. If you looked at where your union money is being spent, most of it's not spent to benefit you. Most of it's spent to benefit big lobbyists in Washington, and then, hey, you may get a higher hourly rate. But when it comes down to it, the more they're impacting you, the more you're making money, you think, but the more goods it's costing you. It's kind of like our government. Right now on major media, they were saying, oh, the economy is doing better. What you don't realize is the more that we're putting false money into the economy, more debt that goes in the economy, it makes the numbers look better. However, we're building ourselves up for a major fall because it's a falsity. It's not real. So it's the same way with inflation. The more money the government gives you, or the more money you make in your paycheck, if the goods are costing more, if the goods are in shortage, if it's harder to get the things, the price will be higher. So even though you think you're making more money, you actually are not making that much more money because you're having to spend more for the goods. Think about when you were in high school or college, or maybe your first car that you bought. I remember the first car that me and my wife bought. We were just out of college. Actually, we were still in college, but we literally took what little bit of scholarship money we had left, and we bought a car for $4,400. It was not the best looking car, but hey, it got us from point A to point B. It made a little noise here and there, but we would take it everywhere. We went out of state in it. We went everywhere with it. It was $4,400, and to me, that was like unbelievable. We were able to write a check for it. Don't get me wrong. How we were able to save up, I think it was with scholarships and everything. But do you realize, like, that was like something so awesome because we were able to purchase our first vehicle and we only paid $4,400 for it. $4,400 wouldn't hardly buy you a set of tires and an oil change. Now, I know I'm joking and being facetious, but if we look at cars now at $80,000 and $90,000 and $100,000, not only is inflated price on all your goods, it makes it where you can't even buy a car. Not only auto workers, look, like we talked about, the train. Northeast rail workers eye a 2024 strike. So if we see a lot of our transportation and public transportation being cited for, again, more pay, what is that going to do for public transit? What's it going to do for your automobile? Hey, here's another one. We talked about this at the very first point. Chevron workers plan multi-week strike at a major Australian LNG plant. Now, does that affect you in Australia? No. But do you see how the UPS thing started? Now it's the United Auto Workers. Now you're seeing Chevron in Australia. Now you're seeing public transit. It's a domino effect. Because if they said, well, if one union can do it and they can get negotiated and the government will back it, or this big business will back it and they'll pass it to the consumers, and you know the consumers are not really looking at it and they're not paying attention to it, then more and more are going to do it. So these three reasons are going to plague you pretty much for the rest of the year when it comes to you spending money and having to travel more because of holidays. Here's the solutions to all this. Start watching where you're going and what you're doing. If you don't have to travel, don't travel. Don't make the extra trip to town if you forgot something. Make a good prep list and a good grocery list so when you go to town, you know what you need, you get what you need, and you get back home. You need to find ways to save money at your home. Don't be eating out. Don't be driving to town just for the heck of it. Make sure you're using one car instead of two. You can go with a coworker and y'all can co-op driving. Maybe everybody pull to one house, you all drive together. Then the next week it's someone else. It helps save money on fuel and also the wear and tear on your vehicles. Maybe go shopping out of town. Don't look at the cities anymore for shopping. So maybe plan a trip. Like if we go to Costco or Sam's, that's nowhere near us. We're nowhere near those locations. They're not in our town or even the town next to us. But what we'll do, we have a game plan. We'll say, okay, for this month, we're going to go up there. We're going to buy everything we need that we don't already raise here on farm. Now, why do we do that? First of all, it saves money buying bulk like we talked about. It's less fuel because I'm not driving to town every day to pick up random things because I didn't make a list and forgot. So it's good to have a game plan there. Since we're not shopping in a big city, we're also saving money and we're also able to get the goods without having to worry about theft or any issues there. They're not locked behind a counter where we have to wait on a cashier to come get them out for us. So think about some of those options that could help you save some money. You can't help the strikes, I understand that. But be careful if you have things like Amazon Prime or you're ordering a lot online, check your shipping and make sure your shipping hadn't went up. Make sure there's not some kind of surcharge on there. If you remember a few years ago, you started seeing fuel adjustment surcharges on everything you were purchasing. that could come back. So be careful, be wary of that. Again, try to buy as much as you can local, so that way you're not traveling or not having to pay the extra, I'd call it tax, from all this other junk that's been put on us. Be careful of overspending during this time of year. Remember, holidays is not about buying a lot of stuff. Holidays is about being with your family. Work something out, save some money, and try to figure out what's best for you and your family. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this. What is your fuel prices where they're at now? I know my diesel here has went up about 20 or 30 cents. That's not a lot. We're in South Mississippi and we probably have the lowest rate of most states. So let me know below, what is your diesel price? What is your gas price? Are you seeing places where you can't get goods because of theft and thievery? Let me know in the comments below what you're seeing, and that will help other people learn what's going on in their communities. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're new to the channel, we'd ask you to please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. That helps us stay in the algorithm. Hopefully we can share good ideas with our community to be better as a whole, to gain more wisdom, to find the best options to weave through this crazy world that we live in. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Happy homestead now.
Feels like I can fly. You can take me high.